Hey everyone, Void Ranger coming at you from the Great Dark Beyond today with a review for the Legacy Ninja Megazord. This one was released, I want to say 2016, as part of the Bandai's Legacy line for older Megazords. And obviously it is a streamlined, revised version of the 1995 Ninja Megazord, which they did the movie box and they did just one based on the TV show. They were both the same things, but this is a smaller but more screen accurate version of them. Though, truth be told, if we could actually get a terrible hybrid 95 movie version with that face and everything, I would totally buy that. That said, let's get started. You can kind of see how they're all lined up. That's the wolf, the frog, the bear, the ape, and the crane. So I have previously owned the 95 Megazord, and I definitely prefer this one, though the 95 one is not bad, and this one's just more screen accurate and that kind of thing, and there's no stickers to apply or anything like that. So the only thing that keeps this from being like 100% perfect to me is the fact that they're smaller than the 95 ones, but like in a size way, not like in a... I prefer the streamlined features. I like bigger Zords. Anyway, but this is the crane. It belongs to Kim/Cat, and like this red here was pink in our American version, kind of like how they changed the white Shogun Zord to pink in America, because we would never know that this was the Pink Rangers. And to be fair, this was actually a white ranger, a white Sentai character, the Kakure Rangers mech. So it does make sense that they might change it a little bit, but it doesn't really have any kind of crazy articulation. You could move its wings back if you wanted to be like, oh, it's flying really fast. And its head can be adjusted, but that's just because of what it turns into, obviously, with the Megazord formation itself. Though I do find it weird and kind of charming that, I don't know if I can make it focus on it, but if you can see the eyelashes that are randomly on this toy. I don't think it's going to focus, it's too small, but it might look better on a bigger screen. But yeah, it's got eyelashes, so you know, just in case you didn't know, the White Ranger was female in Kakure Ranger. Her Zord has very pretty eyelashes, which, you know, a dude can have pretty eyelashes too. We're not going to get into that. So, but yeah, that's it. It comes into play more in the Megazord form, and I don't know if I'll be able to show this at all, but right up here, these whatever laser cannons or just this ornament stuff are the Kakure Ranger / Alien Ranger shapes, which are kind of neat, but they're incredibly small, so it's super hard to see. I don't think I can zoom into this anymore to really illustrate that, but you know, you can see my shaky hands. But maybe if you slow this video down on YouTube to like half speed, you can see it. I don't know. But aside from that, that's pretty much it for the Crane Zord. So I'm gonna put her over here, and we're gonna start with the wolf, or go to the wolf, not start. This is Billy Zord. There are some die-cast pieces right here, which are nice. The tail is not. It is a soft plastic, which prevents, you know, if kids were actually playing with this, hopefully, from them hurting themselves, because it is kind of bendable. It would still hurt if they poke themselves in the eye, but not as much as die-cast. But all of this is very nice and cold to the touch. But not a huge amount of articulation. You can move the legs a little bit and adjust the feet, but it's just because of how it transforms. Like the front paws can bend, but you know, it's mostly for movement. You could pretend it was running, but it's kind of hard to do that. The mouth does open and close, which is nice. I do appreciate the detail of the teeth. I wouldn't say they're sharp per se, but they're there. They're molded out. So the paint job is really good on it, and the eyes look good. It's just an all-around good-looking toy that I just threw on the ground. Speaking of like kids poking their eye out and throwing toys on the ground, this set was $100 when it came out, and that is what I paid for it. Because I call it the Toys R Us tax, but since Toys R Us was the only place that carried it, it was an exclusive as far as I know. I mean, you had to pay Toys R Us's prices unless you found it online. You might hear my dogs in the background. They're grumpy and chihuahuas, so I apologize. They're just unhappy with everything, which is eternally a mood. So next is Adam's Zord, and we all know the line. He's a frog, but you know, the frog Zord itself is pretty cool. I've always liked black and gold together, so this black paint along with this shiny, it's not really shiny, but it's kind of reflective, more metallic gold, looks really good. The legs are kind of a different kind of plastic here. I don't really know how to describe them, but the feet themselves are die cast, so they're nice. And the paint they use on the metal really, or on the plastic and the metal, really looks good. I wouldn't call it, I guess it is kind of the same. It's just the same kind of paint as the gold. Not exactly metallic, but not shiny either. I don't know if a matte metallic exists. That's kind of it. It's almost got like a glitter-ish quality to it. Very light glitter. But you see down on the feet here, they're plastic, but the toes themselves are also die cast. So you can see some designs which will come up in the Megazord form. There is a good amount of articulation on this thing, which I always have trouble getting him back into his frog form when I do this, but you could make him bounce around and that kind of thing. And curiously enough though, his mouth opens, which is cool, but there's like clearly a spot where a tongue would be, and you know, I don't expect there to be a real tongue, but it's kind of weird that there's nothing there. It's just, he opens his mouth and that's it. I feel like in the show he let out little frog Zords that look like this and they attacked enemies. It's been a long time, so I might just be hallucinating or making that up, but it is just weird that there's nothing there. But this is the largest Zord because it forms the most of the majority. There we go. Words are hard. Of the Megazord, so he is definitely the biggest. I wouldn't say he's exactly heavy, but most of the weight is right here on the feet because of the die cast. Also, I should note that none of these drastically changed from their 95 release. They're basically the same ideas. I'd say the one with the most change is the ape, and we'll get to that, but it's not something I feel like you could notice really in pictures, but we'll get there. But you've got the bear here, which almost functions identically to the bear of 95. You do have some articulation in the legs, that kind of thing. Somewhat here, but I wouldn't really call that as much as I would this, because that's just to fold them back. I'm not a huge fan of these pegs sticking out here because that's where the arms go, but I mean, they can't really do anything about it. But this one you can see, I'd say the most toyetic parts of it. Like you can see the pegs on the slots on the top of the frog, but here it's kind of just like all over. It doesn't really ruin it for me or anything, and that gold really is a scene stealer with the coloring. Not a huge fan of the yellow. I mean, it matches 95, but it's just like my least favorite color or shade of plastic yellow, which we've discussed before in previous reviews. The one thing I will say I miss on this one is that the fist covers for the Megazord mode fit on the bear in the 95 release, and if they fit on this one or any of the other Zords, I can't figure it out. I don't remember it being in the instructions or anything, but that was kind of nice to be able to store them. One was on the bottom, one was on the back. but I don't think that's an option now, and if it is, A, I'm sure someone will correct me, and B, I don't use it because I display this in Megazord form. You also have, I have no idea what this is. I'm 100% like clueless as to what to call it. It was also usually missing when you found a used Ninja Megazord from 95, but you can pop it off, which you'll see when we transform it into the Megazord, and put it in the mouth, because that's where it's supposed to be in that formation. But I have no idea what this is. So please tell me what it is, because it's been 24 years and I still haven't figured it out. I guess I could Google it, but why do that when there are other people who can answer questions for me? So next, and finally for now, is the dancing, apparently, Ape. It's Rocky Zord. He's very similar to what he was in 95. These side pieces are die cast, so that's super nice. I mean, it looks really good. The paint on him is spectacular, in my opinion. He's tiny though, but I always thought for an ape he doesn't look like an ape, but that's neither here nor there. He's got a good amount of articulation in theory, because I mean, you can see he's twerking or whatever the hell he's doing here. He wasn't able to do that in the 95 one, I feel like. And his arms have kind of standard action figure rotation and posability to an extent. He's got some elbow joints and that kind of thing. Mostly tied to articulation, or to transformation, but I like to pretend that they did it so you could move them around and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. You can make him do a sassy pose. It's like, I thought I told you to clean your room, son. So, I don't know. That's what he does. That's what he says in my mind. So, I can't remember. He's got these little hooks here, and he might have come with his weapons. I have the box and everything stored in a closet somewhere, and I didn't actually think to grab it and look, but he did have swords in the show. I want to say they came with him in this release, but please do not hold me to that, because I honestly don't remember, and digging through that closet is just like asking for an injury, because boxes are just going to fall on my head. So now let's get to the part that's honestly my favorite part, the transformation. So we'll move these guys out of the way for a second, and we're going to come back to Adams. And it's honestly relatively easy, though I am going to show you something I don't super enjoy about this particular Zord as we do it. But first we'll fold the arms out, and then the feet kind of just work their way down. So, as I mentioned though, like I had trouble getting this back into frog form, and it's because of this piece here, which isn't the piece like I actually dislike, but these, maybe because other people, like when they were testing this out, had trouble, but they pop off pretty easily. Like I pulled it off, and you can see like the joint here where you can put it back on, which thankfully it goes on there easily. But like whatever I do when I mess it up, those inevitably pop off. So there's that. But I'm gonna fold him down a little bit. Oh boy, I messed that up. So hold on. You take the legs, and they slide in here under the knee, and that's how the transformation goes. So you kind of, it's hard to do it when you're on a camera and you're working around that, but it's not actually hard to do when you're just playing with it yourself. But that sounds weird. Anyway, you just fold that down, and whoops, I popped it out. You can also just do it this way. So, and there, that's the frog. So you can see the legs and how the front hands go. So we'll pull this up a little bit. Next in line, at least the way I do it, is the bear. You take the two front legs and you squeeze them in, and then just fold them up into the body. Then you take the back legs, rotate them up, and then it's pretty simple from here. Oop. You continue to, oop, you keep them in there. That helps. That helps a lot. And then I can't do it. Why am I having issues with this? Good Lord. What am I doing wrong here? This is weird. There we go. It just wouldn't go, and I was afraid of breaking it. So you just push it into itself, and it just compacts. Then you take this piece off, and be careful not to lose it. Open the mouth, and then just reattach it, and then close it up. You'll see here there are pegs that align with the pegs on top of the frog. And you just snap them in, which I make it sound super easy, and in theory it should be, but for whatever reason today, I am having issues. There we go. So I'm gonna prop this up a little bit more for you and look down a little bit. So I've got them on the wrong sides. We're gonna do a switcheroo. And probably the next biggest change to the Ape is they made it really similar to the 95 red Shogun Zord. It always did this, but now the arms seem to, like, they fold up because they can't fit in the whole way. So you actually use that articulation and close them up that way. So you also have to make sure you do it right, which again, I'm not good at tonight. So they're gone. And actually one thing I do like is instead of making this a solid piece like it was in 95, you just clip it together, which isn't a firm snap or anything. You just got to trust yourself and do it. And then you push it down. Something I like about this, and I mentioned something about it kind of in the Red Battlezord review, was because of how the Zeo Megazord and the Red Battlezord combined, I didn't like that their pieces were, their legs were, or the legs were one piece. And I kind of wish they had thought of doing something like that, like leave that giant gap on the back, fine, whatever, we got to deal with it. But I wish they had let you split it apart to actually have some kind of posability, so it didn't come off as brickish. But then you take these pieces, which this is obviously red, and red goes on the left, well, his right, my left, and so you just adjust the headpiece, put it on, snap it into place. You want to make sure the fist is on the outside and the thumb is on the inside. The wolf is pretty simple. You fold its tail in, clip it in like that, fold its back paws or its front paws in, and then fold its back paws in, or back legs, not necessarily paws. Then you take the blue fist cover, that's a loud snap, and it goes in like that, and then you just clip that on. It's super simple. We're almost done. So then you take the crane, which is probably the easiest transformation, and you push those wings back, and then you fold, actually on this one it's different. So here on the bottom, it's not too different, but there's an extra step. On the bottom there's this little black piece. You fold that out. Like, it doesn't go all the way out, it just pops out a little bit. Then you fold it forward. Those connect, and then you have a face. And that just gives the head somewhere to actually connect to. And there you have the Ninja Megazord, which, I mean, god damn, this thing is attractive. I think it looks so good. The Ninja Megazord is probably tied for my favorite Megazord in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers across all three. Between this and the Thunder Megazord, I mean, it depends on what day you ask me. I'll tell you one of them is my favorite one from the whole series. This thing is gorgeous. The colors just pop. It looks good. It's fantastic. I just friggin' love it. I don't know how else to, like, tell you how much I love this thing. So he's got your standard, like, Zord articulation, though in this one the legs for the bear kind of rotate with you, as you can tell, but you can pose its arms the way you would expect, and I hate that. I don't know if I've never known how to stop that or not, but anyway, you can rotate its legs. You get some theoretical posability in the legs, but then the frog's feet pop out of space, so I don't really mess with that. And again, he just kind of chills. You could, in theory, Like, do the ape like that to give him like a sword holding pose if you wanted to pretend he could hold the Shogun Megazord sword like he did incorrectly in the movie. But, I mean, you could give him some articulation with that, but I just usually let him stay the way he is and be a happy dude. Though I do normally have the Falcon Zord attached, but that's another review, so you'll get to see that at some point. Sorry for the crazy camera. You went a little too wild with the adjustment. But man, this thing is gorgeous. I love it so much. I mean, the 95 one is still good, don't get me wrong, but this is the definitive edition of it. The 95 one was released on Xbox 360, the definitive edition was released on Xbox One. So this is the one I would recommend. Honestly, they're probably about the same price. I don't know. I haven't looked at the 95's price in a long time. But if you don't have this, I absolutely recommend getting it. So, just friggin' gorgeous. I don't know how much more I can say of that, so I'm going to stop because I will just keep repeating myself. And on that note, that ends this review. So please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, that YouTube jargon as I call it. Check me out on Instagram at Old God Machinations and on Twitter at OG Machinations. And I will see you all next time. Bye.